Took a break?
Keep our minds at rest.
No, because I couldn't figure out how to get to the page I wanted.
I see, okay.
That's why we took a break.
Good idea.
Yeah, so anyway, it really wasn't that hard to do. So, we're going to go ahead and pass around a few devices, okay? Now, I have this thing in my pocket. It's got a little foam end on it. Okay, has everyone seen one of these before?
Yeah.
These little sticks? What is that on the end? It's a piece of foam, but it's a special piece of foam. What kind of foam is it? It will conduct dielectric or electricity through from your body to the metal here, out from the foam here, and then onto the page here. Okay? So some people like using these, other people don't. But I actually learned a little trick from Shell the other day, and Sheldon in our group, and he doesn't know I'm going to talk about it or use his name, so I'll be careful what I say. But anyway, so unfortunately, a lot of people who do a lot of dishes or do a lot of cleaning and things like that, they wash the oil and the moisture right out of their skin. And that's why a lot of people who do that sort of thing, I'm not going to give it, assign a gender to it because it should be done by everybody. But when your hands are dry, it doesn't work on these devices. It doesn't work on your phone. It doesn't work. So these pens will actually help you in case you can't make that connection because they have a built-in moisture to them. So here's what Shell showed me, and I thought it was really great. He said, I don't know if you learned it from or why he did it, but he says, if your fingers are dry and you want to use a phone or an iPad or something, just take your finger and just rub it like that, or rub it on your arm like that. And then it works great. It hasn't failed yet.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah,
give that a shot, because if you find that you're just not getting the sensitivity, one of two things is happening. Either your fingers are too dry and you need to moisten them up just a little bit, or just create a little friction so it warms it up a little bit. And the other reason it doesn't work is either your device hasn't been turned off and on in a long time and it's just kind of hanging and it's not really listening to you anymore because it's lost its sensitivity, and that might be a time that you want to reboot your device. Now,
Fingernails don't work.
yeah, fingernails do not, well, fingernails don't conduct.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can actually buy gloves that have conductive foam on them, so you can work with them with gloves on during the winter. That's kind of nice. But regular gloves won't do it. They don't make it. So anyway, so my point is that both with Android devices and with iPads, iPhones, and things like that, they get busy, they get desensitized. Sometimes you just need to restart them. Okay, you need to turn them off and turn them back on again. It's just like giving them a brand new life. Now, on the other day, last week when we were here, I said that these are my kids. Okay? Sometimes they're well behaved, most of the time they're not. Okay? They're a lot better behaved than my Windows computers are, especially when it came to MS-DOS and Windows XP, Windows Millennium, and things like that. Windows 10 is getting better, but it still is not perfect. Okay? So once in a while, you just need to give them, kill them. You can kill your kids, and you can turn them back on and give them a new life and not be arrested. Okay? So anyway, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pass around an iPad 1. This is a first generation iPad. You'll notice that it does not have a camera. One of the things that I want you to try on this device is I want you to slide through the pages in both directions. And one thing you're going to find when you get all the way to the left, you're going to see on top here a little search box and a keyboard comes up. So if you have something you're looking for, one of these pages, and you can't find it, you can use this little search box and you can type in like Google, for example, Google. And the only application I have on here is Google Earth, but it still found it. And it'll take me in and it'll actually open that application. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a trend along these different devices where you can do the same thing. Your pages are going to look differently. Okay? Now this has a button on it. What's that button called?
The home button.
The home button. So where do you think the home button takes you?
Home.
So you can be anywhere in the device, and you press the home button, and it takes you back to the home page. Okay. You can also delete applications. You can move application icons. These are called icons here, and we'll get into more of how to do that stuff next week. But first, I want you to just swipe all the way to the left. And I'm going to leave Google up there so you can see how Google Earth came. And you can either swipe back, or what else can you do to get to the home page?
Press the home button.
Press the home button. Right. So that will take you back to the home page. Now, where do we always need to go when we get in trouble?
Home.
Home. So it's a good thing to know.
Yeah. My neighbor's house.
That's the original.
So this is the one that was brought in on Monday?
That was mine.
Oh, this is
I've had it
yours?
for ages.
Okay.
Okay,
And I want to put your code in there.
there you go.
You probably know it.
It's all right.
Bruce,
Yes.
are the cameras always on
No.
the phone?
No.
Okay,
No, they're not.
okay.
We can talk about that, or we will in a few minutes. So this is another original iPad. Is there any reason I can't send this one around the room? So one of the things you'll notice when you're going through the pages here, you notice that on Tom's original iPad, which doesn't have a camera, okay, and Apple really kind of stuck a dagger in our hearts by not supporting these things after the first couple of years. So but then again, we had to buy a new one, and that was good for them. But anyway, you'll notice that Tom has a lot of the original applications that came with it on his front page here. So that's one of the things you'll notice when you press the home button. You'll notice that it will take you back, and you'll see a lot of the original applications that were on the Apple iPad 1. Okay, the next generation is the iPad 2. And notice that these devices have two orientations, okay? They have a landscape, which is like this,
Yeah.
and they have a portrait, which is like this. And you can turn on and off whether you want it to be able to rotate or not. Is this one turned on or is it turned off? This is turned off. So how do you turn it on?
Settings.
Well, basically, you go to settings and you find where it says orientation, and you say, do you want to lock it in one position or let it move in both positions? And it can be a real hassle if you're trying to read something and you move around on the table and the orientation keeps moving on you. So sometimes you really do want to lock it. So this is an iPad 2. You're going to notice it's thinner, and it's lighter, and it has a camera. So this was supported for a long time until just about like 2 years ago. So I think it went from like 2009 until 2017 or 2018. It was supported a long time. The problem with these is, and this is just foam that I put on there so I can put it on the table and not scratch it. So that's not part of the deal. But it has some really cool stuff on it and it works pretty well. The problem with the iPad is as you put the new operating systems on it, the updates, that it kept, every time you put an update on it, it slowed down more and more, and it got slower and slower over time. And you could not put it back to the original operating system. Apple wouldn't let you do it. They'd only let you take it back to the latest supported operating system. And that's true with the phones, That's the phones as well, same problem with the iPhone 5. And the iPads, because it won't let you go back so far. So that helped them a lot more than it helped me, because this thing became so slow, it became almost unusable. Then, about a year and a half ago, Apple came out with a new update that they promised would make even your slow devices faster. And guess what? It did. So now I can use this iPad 2, very similar to like I did when I first got it. It's still a little slower, it's not as responsive, it has more applications, but I believe it was one of the versions of the 10 updates that actually sped it back up again. So they did something good in my eyes there, and I'm glad they did that. So this is an iPad 2, okay? So next on our list, and you notice that some of these have a cover and some don't. After a while, I didn't care anymore, so I didn't put a cover on it. Okay?
I like a cover.
And the reason this is an iPad Air. Okay, this is a little later generation. This is like 2 generations after the iPad 2. Okay? So the iPad Air was a lot faster than the original iPad, and it's actually outlasted. It's still supported to this last year, but not anymore. But it still works. They're still great. I can still play music on it. I can still go watch YouTube videos and things like that. I just can't do some of the new, really modern things that are available on the newest iPads.
Do they, this is an iPad Air, and I can't ever tell what model or version it is, but they're still selling iPad Airs.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy them.
Uh-huh.
They're just not supported anymore.
So, like, if I went to Costco or online and
You
bought
can't
one.
buy one at Costco. You can't buy a new one at Costco.
Okay, so what kind of iPad would you get that would have the 4G? You know, so that you can carry it anywhere even if you don't have Wi-Fi?
Where would you get that?
Uh-huh.
You can just, well, first of all, you can Google it. You know.
Oh, that's right.
Buy
I should
it.
ask.
Yeah, it's like,
Google.
where can I buy a used iPad?
No, a new one.
Or no, you can't. You probably can't buy a new iPad Air. They'd have
Okay.
iPad Air 2.
No, but what new iPad would you buy today?
This one, the one that Dick has right here,
Oh, okay.
and Joe has the same thing.
Is that the Pro?
No,
No.
Okay.
no.
Is it
This
Wi-Fi
is the
only?
Pro. This one is 10.1 inches.
Right.
That is smaller than this one. That's 9.7 inches.
9.7.
You can get it with the cellular, the new.
That's what I want.
And you can get it with the cellular,
It'll cost you
and
more,
I
but
know.
not that much more compared to the Pro.
Right.
Because,
Oh, yeah, no, that's like $1,100.
yeah, so you can get, and what's it called? It's just called the iPad. I think that's just the name of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's iPad 6 or something, I believe.
Yeah. And you can get it at Costco, and like I said, I
But if you
paid,
look at the Apple website and look under iPads,
With cellular, yeah.
it'll show you there, and then you can pick where you can buy to get the best deal.
I just didn't want it to be solely dependent on Wi-Fi. So that if I'm
Right.
driving out, I'm out in the middle of Wyoming.
right,
I can
but you
show
still
you.
get a cellular connection.
Right.
Yeah, that's really nice to have.
Right.
If your travels or whatever take you to a place where you only have cellular,
Right.
it's nice to have. But the bottom line is, the iPad 1 there was like $700, and these are like $3 something,
Yeah,
is that what they are?
right.
Tim?
Yeah.
We buy them.
And you can yeah, yours was.
$3.79 or something like that.
Yeah, and then, of course, the cellular would be more expensive, but these have the most modern processor in them. What they don't have is they don't have an anti-glare screen. They don't have, some of the other features. They didn't, like when we were looking at the features for taking videos for this class, he only has 2 choices of videos on his, whereas on the iPad Pro, I have 7 different choices, including 4K video, which he doesn't have on
Right.
it. So if you're really into picture taking and really high quality video, you might want to look into a Pro, but that will take professional videos and professional pictures as well. So unless, the reason we got this, it was in Montana and it was on sale. And it was right before the new ones came out that don't have the home button.
The home,
on it.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
which is just fine. Okay, so this is an iPad Air. It's still the 9.7-inch format. Now, they came out with the iPad Mini as well, okay? And the iPad Mini was like between a phone and a regular size iPad.
I like the size.
Yeah, kind of like that size there. And that was a really nice device for certain people, but it was smaller and real convenient to carry around in a purse. Some people could even, if they had big cargo pockets, they could put it in there as well. It's just kind of hard to stuff in. But anyway, and they also could come with cellular as well, but you pay for that because the cellular, what do you have in a cellular iPad that you don't have in a Wi-Fi? A SIM card, exactly. But it's not really made to make phone calls, but you can set it up to make phone calls, and that's going to be beyond the scope of this class. That would be,
At some point, will you be discussing maybe using a hotspot in your phone?
yes.
Okay.
And why most people don't need it, but we can talk about that, okay? So this is an iPad Air, and we can, I'll start with you here. And just swipe to the left, you'll see it still has this search page there. You can still a place to put the search.
Search.
No
Yeah.
idea.
And if you, yeah, on top there's a search still, okay? And you'll find,
Oh.
and the reason I'm kind of emphasizing iPads here, just so people know, is because they're a lot bigger and they're easier to see. But the phones look almost exactly the same. Except what can phones do? They can make phone calls over a cellular network. Okay, nice little stand. You can put your device on a stand like that if you want to. Or else a lot of the modern stands will just let you just stand them up like that. So it's real convenient to have these new covers. And so the reason that has a cover on it was we originally bought that cover for this computer and it didn't fit. Okay.
Yes, watch it.
So instead of taking it back to Walmart, we put it on my iPad Air and now it's real happy. Okay. How are we doing so far? Okay? All right. Let's bring up the... We talked a little about this the other day, last week, with charging, and I just want to, this is really important. So this is for charging Android phones, okay? It's a high-speed charger. What does a high-speed charger do? It charges your phone faster, okay? It's 5 volts. All of your chargers that you use on these devices should be 5 volts. Okay? I'm gonna pass around these two around the room here. And you're gonna be able to tell me which one I should use and which one I shouldn't use on my phone. So while we continue the conversation here, so when you buy an iPad, you get this charger here, okay? It's 5.2 volts. That's close enough to 5 that we can live with it. That's 5.2 volts.
This is 5 volts.
And it's 2.4 amps. So a volt is like how many electrons you have. And the amps is like how hard are they being pushed through the wire, okay? So for an iPad, this is the ideal charger for charging an iPad quickly. And this is the one they give you when you buy an iPad. It doesn't have this writing on it. I put those labels on myself. Okay? This is the one you get with an iPhone. Okay? It's smaller. It's 5 volts as well, but it's only 1 amp. Okay? So lately we've been hearing from some club members that their batteries are swelling up and they can actually take their battery and spin it around on the table, whereas it's supposed to be flat. But if you can spin it, that means it's bulging up a little bit, and that means it's starting to wear out and it's starting to swell. And that can be dangerous in the long run. But we often think, well, that's from overcharging them. And apparently that's not the case. Okay, apparently we're not overcharging the phones. What we're doing is we are charging them too fast. Okay? So let me take a step back and tell you the difference. Your phone is pretty smart. It has circuitry inside the phone which will tell it when to stop charging. Okay? It knows when to stop. Okay? But can you plug your iPhone into here? Yeah. I mean your cable just goes.
USB.
Your cable, I can use this cable here. Oh, let's just use this cable, it's only one. So I can put the USB end in here, I could plug this into the wall, or I can plug it into a computer, or I can put it into a lot of the new wall sockets that you can buy like at Walmart or Costco or whatever, or hardware stores. They also have USB connectors on them, but they're usually low power connectors. They're usually 1 amp, so they're not fast charging ports. So if it takes you 10 minutes to charge your phone, it'll probably only take you 5 minutes to charge you with this, okay? So here's where the problem comes in. When you use this all the time to charge your phone, you're basically taking your battery life and you're cutting it in half in your phone. You are basically weakening your battery in your phone. It will still charge, but fast charging is the enemy of batteries. Okay? So when I am charging so the question comes up, should I charge my phone overnight? Well, yeah, you can, and you can probably use this bigger charger. But you're going to be putting a lot of stress on your phone. Your iPad won't complain as much because it has a bigger, more powerful battery. It can handle more current. But if you use this for your iPad battery will last a lot longer. Okay? So if you have a low power, this is 1 amp compared to 2.4 amps. If you're not in a hurry, use a lower power charger for a longer period of time, and your phone or your iPad battery will just last longer. It'll be less stressed. Okay, that's a good tip. I want to pass this cable around just for show and tell. You'll see that it has an Android or a mini USB connector on it, but now it is an iPhone. Let's put it in the right direction here. Our eyes are getting worse. Okay, so now it is an iPhone Lightning connector. Also works with USB-C, an iPhone or an Android. So I got one of those in one of those little deals that was online. But it's nice to only have to carry one cable around if you have to charge your devices. And you just put one on top of the other. Thank you. Okay, so I made a list like this for iPhones, sort of like I did for Android. Even though they look similar, they're not the same. So if you have an iPhone, this will be much more pertinent to what you have. And just to show you real quick, we don't have time to look at everything right here, because we got a lot of stuff on these pages here. Okay, but we're not going to go through all of this stuff here. And there's that term jailbreak right there. What's the other word for jailbreak? Anyone know?
Escape.
Root. We'll talk about what that means, yeah, root. And root your phone. Okay, so do iPads get viruses?
Not very much.
Hmm.
As often.
Okay, so here's an article. Can iPads get viruses? What you need to know. Now that sounds like a good reference article, doesn't it? Everyone wants to know that. So, are we going to be troubled with viruses in our iPhone? Okay, so let's just look at these bullet points here. The risk of viruses on an iPad, and same with an iPhone, is virtually zero, but the device is not completely invulnerable. Okay? It's true with the browsers, true with a lot of devices. All electronic devices that connect to the internet are not completely safe. So, there are quick precautions you can take to protect your device. These include turning on automatic updates for your iPad or iPhone and following the same safe computing practices you would do on your PC, such as strong passwords. Okay, why is a strong password good to have? Because it's harder to guess. Okay, so what's a strong password? Something that's long in length, something that has uppercase letters and lowercase letters and numbers and symbols, things that aren't easy to guess. And the longer it is when you use those proper characters, the harder it is to break those passwords. But people can still do it, okay? But they really don't have to do it. All they have to do is break into like Amazon.com and hack their password databases, and guess what? If you use the same password in all your accounts, they got it, you know? And they don't even have to go to Google, or don't even have to go to Amazon, they can go somewhere else as well. And if they can hack your password at least once, well, people use the same password on everything. So, it's just not safe to use the same password or a weak password. A long password that's 15 characters long, that has special characters in it, can take hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years to break. A simple password that might be, you know, your dog's name or your first dog's name spelled out just like a regular name might take 5 minutes to break or less. So you should have strong passwords. iPad users should be on guard from all kinds of security risks, not just viruses. What are other types of security risks? Well, somebody steals your phone. So do you have a PIN on your phone? So when you log into your phone, does it go right to your user interface with your icons on it? Or is there, you have to put in a PIN or face recognition or something? That will protect you quite a bit. The other thing we saw above here though too is the one about updates. Turning on automatic updates. Why are updates important? So why is it not a good idea to have a phone that isn't supported anymore? Because you can't get updates anymore. Okay? So when you can't get updates anymore, you are vulnerable to security risk. When new viruses come out, when new things come out, you are susceptible to getting those malware, viruses, and all Trojan horses, all kinds of things that can come out and affect your system. So that's the rationale that the computer companies want you to think about when they send out their automatic updates, and you have a supported device and they're keeping you up to date. Okay? So if you're working on a conventional computer like a Windows 10 or Windows 7 PC or something, or one of the earlier versions like XP or Windows 98, there's a lot more risk on those than there was on these iPads and things like that. Because I guess a lot of people like to get back at Microsoft. So Microsoft Windows has probably the highest volume of malware written against it. Whereas iPads are fairly safe because when you buy their programs, or get their free programs, you can only get them through the Apple Store. And they're pretty good at scanning their device, their store for viruses and malware. They miss once in a while, but they're a lot better than what you can get. But you have to remember that your iPad, iPhone is not invulnerable. Okay, you can still get viruses, you can still be attacked, you can have your system hijacked. But the number of viruses pales in comparison to the tens, if not the hundreds of thousands that you'll find for PCs. Okay? And I'm only talking about Windows PCs here. Macs are starting to get attacked as well, but not nearly as much as Windows PCs. A lot of things that you'll find, you might go to a website and it comes up and it looks like there's a virus there. Chances are it's not a virus, okay? It's just someone putting a message on your system to make you think you have a virus. And of course, they're usually doing it for monetary reasons. They want you to pay them money. But in reality, they're just simply trying to lure you to a website to buy some purported antivirus software. So you really, if you have an iPad or an iPhone, you're still a lot safer than if you have an Android phone or a comparable device. Now you can ignore this message, but if it persists, you should clear Safari's cache. Okay, cache, C-A-C-H-E. What's a cache? It's a storage area. I think a cache, when I was in junior high school, I used to read a lot of stories about the trappers in the West, you know, and so the trappers would go up in the Rockies and they'd get their beavers and things like that, and they put it away someplace safe until they had enough to take down the rendezvous. Well, that someplace safe was called their cache. Okay, it's their storage area. Whenever you go to a website, your computer, and when I'm talking about computer, remember I call these computers, okay, they store that data so they can get back to it quicker the next time in some place called a cache. The cache can speed you up for a while, but if you never clear it out, it can actually slow you down. In fact, it can poison your computer as well, to the point where unless you clear the cache, you can't even log on to some websites. Because if you change your password, it still remembers the old password and not the new password, so no matter what you do, it won't let you get on the website. So no matter whether you're using Chrome or Firefox or Safari, or any other browser, you should occasionally clear your caches, okay, and your cookies. Does anyone not know what a cookie is? I'll just tell you what it is in case you don't know. A cookie is a little piece of code that gets installed onto your browser that basically identifies who you are and where you're coming from. That would be a tracking cookie, who you are, where you're coming from, how many times you've visited this site, and information like that. And it can be a lot more invasive like that. When we're just talking about the regular tracking cookie, you don't want to have too many of those on your system. You can turn them off completely, but it makes browsing a little more inconvenient because every time you try to go to a site, it's going to ask you if you want to put a cookie on your site. You can say yes or no, but it's going to ask you every time if you don't have cookies or you cleared your cookies. In my humble opinion, I think you should clear your caches at least once a month. Okay? And on an Apple device, it tells you how to do it. You go to the settings application. What would be analogous to the settings application on a Windows PC? We said it before. It's your control panel. Okay, it's where you have all your settings and things like that. So instead of calling it settings, they call it on a PC, they call it control panel. On a Mac, they call it preferences. Okay, on mobile devices, whether it's an Android or an Apple, they call it settings. You find Safari in the list of applications down here. You tap clear history and website data. So you find Safari here, you find a little box that says clear history and website data. Now this is almost exactly the same whether you're on an Android device, whether you're using Chrome instead of Safari, you still do it the same way. You find the Chrome application instead of the Safari application, and you clear your history and your website data. Okay, and then after you do that, you take sensible precautions.
Yep, there it is.
Okay? The risk to everyday users is quite low. One thing nice about an iPad or an iPhone is that you're not an administrator. So you're a regular user, you're an everyday user. I prefer everyday user to an ordinary user. I'm not an ordinary person, I'm an everyday person. You still need to take sensible precautions. Single best defense against malware is keep your iPad updated to the latest version. So I can't do that on my original iPad anymore. I can't do that on my iPad 2 anymore. Even my iPad Air, I can't update it anymore. But I can update it on the new iPad Pro, and you can update it on yours, and you'll be able to do it for years. And what I was going to say before is even though this is a Pro and it costs at least probably more than twice as much as that one, they're still running the same chip, you know, and if you can buy one of these iPads there and you're trying to keep the price down, if you can go with this a little smaller, if you don't need a bigger one, that's really a great buy if you want to look into getting a new iPad, and it's going to be updatable for years. So you're going to be able to stay within this, keeping your operating system updated to the latest version. So, and that's the same as saying having the most current OS version installed. The way you do that is you open the settings application and tap general. That's where your general settings are. You can go to tap software update, and if you have automatic updates turned on, well, I don't turn on automatic updates on mine, so I'm kind of bucking this system a little bit. I will basically use the install now, and that way we'll download the update and install the update, but you can go either way. The trick is though that you do want to keep your system updated to be up to date on your protection. What is a 0-day attack? It's a word that's been out there for a while, 0-day attack. It's a virus or a piece of malware that's out in the wild, that's been put out on the internet, that they don't have a fix for yet. They may not even know about it yet. So they can't say this attack's been out there for a week, you know, because they haven't come up with a fix for it yet. They're just starting to identify it, but in the meantime it's starting to affect different machines all the time. So there's only certain ways you can protect yourself from a 0-day attack, but the best way is to have the latest updates on your system. Now, when we're talking about iPads and iPhones and things like that, they're fairly safe. So you don't really have to worry as much about 0-day attacks as if you have a PC, like a Windows PC or a Mac or things like that. But they can still occur, so it's good advice to keep things up to date. So if there's an update available, install it. And then we want to do our backups, our updates, and we can also back up our stuff, our music and our apps and updates and things like that. You can back them up using iTunes, or you can back up your system using iCloud. And then, of course, Apple will continue to update iOS as hackers are coming up with new exploits and things like that. Just 2 weeks ago, I did get a phone call, and the guy in his nice Indian accent said to me, your computer has been attacked and it's not going to work anymore. Click on this link here, and I want to log into your computer and I'll fix it for you. Real nice guy, you know, he was going to fix it for me. I would be just fine after that. I said, well, you're not from Apple. He said, well, go take a look at you have an iPad too, don't you? He says, go look at your iPad 2. And I looked at my iPad 2, and I brought it up and I signed in, and it says, user such and such wants to connect to your iPad using which means that he had my Apple ID because he could send me a message to my Apple ID. Okay? So this might happen to you too. It happened to me. It could happen to you too. And I said, well, you're not from Apple. And so he got all pissed off at me, and he basically slammed the phone on me. And so I called Apple, and he said, no one will ever do that from Apple. No one from Apple will ever do that. They'll never connect you to your computer or your iPad or iPhone to show you a message unless they've already got your permission to do it. Okay? So if he would have gotten into my Mac, he could have stolen my passwords, he could have stolen all kinds of stuff from my system, and it probably would have been much more vulnerable in the future. Okay, so anyway, if that ever happens to you, it's fake. Okay, can't believe how many thieves there are out there, how many people are out there trying to use you, but it's happening. Yes.
I was just gonna say, my neighbor, he was in his 90s. He had a deal from Microsoft saying, gentleman called and said, your computer's all messed up,
Right.
so he fell for it and fixed it for $300, $299 something,
Yeah,
and about 4 weeks later, same call.
yeah.
He finally got his grandson to fix it and
I know
all kinds
people
of
who've
stuff,
lost over $1,000 with
Yeah.
that thing. It's called the grandpa virus,
but- Yeah.
because guess what? Guess who gets affected the most?
Yes.
Grandpa!
Yeah.
Grandpa, no one's gonna bother me. I'll just hit the okay button right here. It'll
People
be
are
okay.
honest, yeah.
I'll just write a check. They'll get everything all fixed for me. No, they won't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
What is happening is you go to a website and you click on a link, and it runs some script on your device that basically will not let you close your browser. You can't get out of it unless you are computer literate, and it's really easy for someone who's computer literate to get out of it. So the best thing to do, if that ever happens to anybody in this room,
Call you.
hold the power off button. You can call me too if you want. Here's my card. But anyway, you can just hold the power button down for about 15 seconds, let your computer completely shut off. Okay? Start it back up again. Start the browser that you have the problem with. It's going to ask you, do you want to reload your pages? If you say yes, it will reload that grandpa virus again. If you say no, it will take you back to your home page and you'll be all free and clear. If you fall for the grandpa virus and you let them get on your computer, they will install software on it and messages on it that you have to take off. And you probably have to call someone like me to take it from there because you wouldn't know where to look. But that's not going to happen on an iPad or an iPhone. It can happen more often on a Mac or definitely on a PC. You won't see it very often on a Linux machine. Why not?
Aren't very many of them.
Because nobody uses it. So what's the use of wasting your time? You're not going to get any money from these folks because they know enough not to give you, they probably know more than you. You probably know more than they do about this stuff. So anyway, so Linux machines are fairly safe. So we're kind of getting the point. It's nice to have, if you're going to buy something for Aunt Margaret, get an iPad, A Chrome tablet's pretty good. I'm not Chrome tablet. Android tablet's pretty good too. They're not as susceptible because you do have to go through the Google Play Store unless you intentionally turn off the security on here and get applications from the internet. It's fairly safe as well. Okay. Which brings me to the next point. How do you connect your iPad to the internet?
Wi-Fi.
Okay. So, Wi-Fi. Okay, so you connect to a Wi-Fi device, you put in your code, your PIN or your password, or whatever you want to call it, and if it's a valid password, it will connect to Wi-Fi. Okay, and then you'll be able to browse the internet. If you have a phone, okay, and you don't have any connection to the internet over Wi-Fi, can you still get to the internet? Sure. You can use your cellular network. Okay? This doesn't have a cellular network. This can connect to a cellular network using what card? SIM card, right. So you can connect using the SIM card. Now, what if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have a great cellular connection and no Wi-Fi, but you need to use your iPad?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Get the
Cry.
code from the restaurant.
You go to a restaurant and use their Wi-Fi, right? Good idea. That would work. But there's a little more convenient way of doing it. You can go into your settings, you can go into cellular, and you can turn on what's called a personal hotspot. And you can do that with both an Android phone and you can do it with a Apple phone, okay? Or you can do it with a iPad that has cellular connected. So what does that do? So now, here we are in the middle of nowhere, no Wi-Fi networks anywhere, can't get no restaurants, can't get a cellular connection anywhere, I mean a Wi-Fi connection anywhere. So I turn on my computer here and I look up Wi-Fi networks. Guess what I'm going to see? I'm going to see a Wi-Fi network. My personal hotspot is a Wi-Fi network. I can connect to my hotspot using Wi-Fi to my personal hotspot, and I can go ahead and surf the web or send email, get email, do whatever I need to do. Now your speeds will not be quite as fast as on your phone, but they'll be fast enough. If you have a really strong connection, you won't be able to tell the difference. If you have a barely, like have maybe 1 or 2 bars on your phone and you do it, it will still work, but it's gonna be slow. Okay, but it will still work. So, and in the past, they used to charge you for that. Now they don't charge you for, I don't believe they charge you for a personal hotspot anymore, do they? Well, I don't think so, but they used to. Yeah, but now they don't. So you can try that. And it's really worth trying if you've never tried it before. Remember, go to on your phone, and same thing on a Android phone. You can go into your settings, into your cellular, create a personal hotspot, and then you can use your Wi-Fi devices. And more than one person can connect to it. You can have all these different devices connect to it. The more devices you have, the slower it's going to be, because you're sharing the same bandwidth between the different devices. But you're not lost. You're not lost. You're still able to do it. Excuse me.
Bruce, if you're in the middle of nowhere and
But you have a
you
cellular
can't find
signal.
any towers,
Well, you have a cellular signal.
you do have a cellular signal, what's
If you're getting, this is only good if you have a cellular signal. Okay? So say, let's say you're stuck in Dungeness,
yeah,
okay? And you need to use your iPad because your favorite application is on here and it's not on your phone, okay? So all you do is you bring up your phone, you turn on your personal hotspot, you connect to it over Wi-Fi, and now you can use your favorite application on your iPad. So if the stronger your connection is, the better the connection you'll get to the internet. Okay? And it's not going to really, it's just going to, the only cost it's going to be for you is the same thing as a phone call. If you have unlimited calling, it's not going to cost you anything. But if you start transferring a lot of data, like downloading files and things like that, then it's gonna eat into your cellular data.
Okay.
Okay, but the same as the phone would. No more. Okay.
Bruce?
Yes.
Here's a question. I went into personal hotspot on my
Phone.
i5,
Yeah.
and it says personal hotspot, blah, blah, and it says Wi-Fi password, and it's something I've never seen before. Is
Well,
that the
yeah.
Wi-Fi
So you would, if it wants a Wi-Fi password, so what that means is that if someone wants to connect to your phone here, if you have a personal hotspot, that's the password I need to put into when I can see your device there and I press on it, it's gonna ask me for a passcode because you want it to be secure. It's gonna, that's the
I can show
passcode
you
I
that.
would have to put in here if I wanted to connect to your personal hotspot.
And who generated that password?
They did,
They did.
Ah,
they did.
Apple.
Apple did, well, yeah, Apple did.
Thank you.
And it's gonna change too, it's not gonna,
You mean each time it would be a different one?
it can be. I can't guarantee that.
So
Okay, no, just.
if I left that turned on all the time,
It's gonna use power.
that's what I was gonna say, cause it asks you whether you wanna leave it on full time or,
Right, yeah, it's gonna use power. It's the same thing as, you may have heard of a device called a MiFi. You ever hear
yeah,
M-I-F-I?
MiFi, yeah.
MiFi is basically, it's like a phone without the phone part, okay? It can connect to a cell
Cell
tower,
tower.
and it basically becomes a personal hotspot that like up to 5 users can connect to. Yes?
Bruce, my wife and I are retired and we live full-time in our RV.
Mm-hmm.
That's our internet access.
Right,
There you go.
The Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, MiFi or a personal hotspot, which would do the same thing. The MiFi is actually made for that purpose, so it is optimized and it will work better, but this will still work.
Well, does this say hotspot in it someplace?
This is,
So this is an Android phone, and this is a 5,
Mm-hmm.
so you'd have to
I
find
looked under
your...
Wi-Fi and I had all
No, it's
sorts
not
of
under
them.
Wi-Fi, it'd be under cellular. So it'd probably be under advanced calling, or, let's see.
Okay, I've never seen a hotspot.
Yeah, we'll look at that next week.
Okay.
But you can do it on an Android phone just like you can do it on an Apple phone.
Hmm.
But it'd be under your cellular, you might have to turn on developer options.
Well, you know, you hear about people that get stuck out someplace where they have no connections and everything. Would that work for them?
If they can get cellular connection, if there's a
You have to have
tower.
cellular.
You still have to have cellular, you still have to be able to make a phone
Connect
call.
to something, yeah.
Yeah, you still have to be able to connect to
Under
something.
advanced calling, it says activate Wi-Fi calling.
Okay, so
Use
let's talk,
Wi-Fi when the mobile network is not available.
so let's talk about Wi-Fi calling. Okay, thank you. Because we talked about that last week too, but not for the Apple folks. So, Wi-Fi calling. So I live right near Sunny Farms. I live actually about miles north of Sunny Farms. And on my phone, often I get 1 bar. Okay? So sometimes I don't get calls, sometimes calls get dropped and things like that because I don't have really strong signal. So if you have a good phone, this phone or not the cheapest phones would not have it on it, but a lot of the better phones have a service called Wi-Fi calling, okay? What it does is it allows your device, if it's connected, let's say I'm at home, if I'm connected by Wi-Fi to my phone, okay, because when I go home and I want to browse on my phone or my tablet, I don't want to be using my cellular minutes all the time. So I turn on Wi-Fi and I can go to the internet and use my Wi-Fi just like I would a tablet or computer or anything. Well, you can also use your Wi-Fi for making telephone calls, okay? So when you put on advanced calling or Wi-Fi calling, what you're doing is you're saying, if my signal is weak, use my Wi-Fi network to complete this call. It will also receive calls when you do that, you'll notice that your Wi-Fi will look a little bit different. It will show you those little bars that are parallel to each other, and it will have a little bar that goes up and down, which basically means that your phone call is being done over Wi-Fi. So the only caveat to making your phone calls over Wi-Fi is, let's say there's an emergency. Okay, let's say there's an emergency in your home, and you're using your Wi-Fi. They don't know where you are when you're using Wi-Fi. Okay, so when you turn on Wi-Fi calling on your phone, you put your address in there. Okay, when you make a 911 call, you always tell them where you are,
Location.
where your location is. Okay, and that way they can help you. Okay, because that's the chief disadvantage of using Wi-Fi calling. But there's been many times when I've had my phone not connected to the internet where it's dropped calls, and when I've had the Wi-Fi calling on, I have no problem with that at all. I get better voice quality, and the phone calling works a lot better with Wi-Fi calling on, especially if you live in a dead zone where we happen to be on the other side of the river over there, and the signal gets real low, unless you want to move next to the new fake fir tree, which has a really powerful signal.
Where is it close to Dungeness?
Is that a Brigadoon?
Yeah,
Brigadoon,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
up on Brigadoon Hill.
Yeah, and they're putting those in more different places. They're disguising, it's just basically disguising the cell tower so people don't, it doesn't look like a cell tower, because we all have this not in my backyard attitude, and if you don't know what's there, you won't complain about it as much. So it actually works for them just as well as it works for us.
Can I ask you one question about Wi-Fi? I leave my
Sure.
Wi-Fi on my phone all the time,
Sure,
just whenever I'm,
yeah,
you know,
most people
I'm
do.
here, I didn't turn it on. But
Most
the
people
minute-
do,
Okay, that's okay.
yeah.
Okay,
So what's the disadvantage of doing that?
I don't know.
It uses up your battery.
Okay.
Okay, now we talked about in the Android class last week, we talked about airplane mode.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
And airplane mode is, when you turn on airplane mode, it turns off all your radios. Now what are your radios? Your radios are your cellular connection, your radios are your Wi-Fi connection, your radios are your Bluetooth connection, okay? Those are all things, when they're on, they use power because they're always out there searching to connect to something. They're always out there, you know, can I connect to something? They're always pinging out there. Can I connect to you? Can I connect to you? And that uses power on your phone. So, it's going to reduce your battery life. Now, for the main advantage of having an Apple phone is that your battery just lasts so much longer. Okay? This phone here was charged at the same time this phone was charged. They're both charged at the same time. This one's still at 100%. This is down to 89%. Okay? So you're not going to drain your battery as fast, even if you have your radios on, because as much as I hate to admit it, Apple did something good, and they have real efficient battery management. Okay, power management. Much better power management on an Apple device, both iPads, iPhones, than on Android devices. Okay? So you're going to get better battery life on your new devices. Okay, so now, we talked about the iPhone, the new iPhone. We just have a couple more minutes here. The new iPhone doesn't have a home button on it. So how does it work? Just as well. Just as well, yeah. So if I want to get home on here, I just do that. It takes me home. Okay? That was pretty easy, wasn't
How do
it?
you like it?
I love it. I mean, actually it's Marlene's phone, and she's letting me borrow it, okay? When I got this iPhone, I felt like a magician. I really did. I mean, it just felt like, wow, I'm good. You know, it felt like hey, this is really cool stuff. It's really fun. I really like these new iPhones. But anyway, so if you have an application open, and if you want to see which applications you have open, I don't know if we have any open here, but you can, just like when you go from page to page here, if you have a number of like